Don't judge someone until you have walked a mile in their shoes. You guys have all heard this quote. It's a famous American proverb. Its origin dates back to our Native Americans. One very wise person from the Cherokee tribe described an entire emotion in this one sentence: the emotion of empathy. Empathy is the act of feeling with someone, trying to understand from their perspective. It's a very powerful, yet vastly underrated emotion. Let me explain why. I am a humanitarian filmmaker and an activist. I travel the world and document my own personal experience with people living in poverty. I try to show what poverty looks like face to face. So these aren't statistics that we hear, but instead the real lives of people in need. I use my films to raise awareness for humanitarian causes and to raise financial support for local nonprofit organizations. I am 32 years old and I have been to 51 countries around the world. When I sit with people living in extreme poverty, I really try to understand their day-to-day struggles, and let me tell you, there are a lot of them. Over 1 billion people on our planet live on less than $1 a day. And then I fly home from Honduras or Uganda or India back to my home in the suburban Midwest, and I talk to my friends and my family and my colleagues who say they're struggling to find out how to make a difference in the world. They want to give back. They want to help. They're searching for this sort of higher purpose, but they just don't know what to do. They feel lost, and they feel a little empty. How heartbreaking is it that there are millions of people around the world that need help, and there are millions of people around the world that want to help, and we can't seem to connect the two? Well, that bridge is built through empathy. So back to the quote, don't judge someone until you have walked a mile in their shoes. What if I could take this from a figure of speech and make it real? What if I could literally walk a mile in someone else's shoes? What would I learn about empathy? And could empathy lead to impact? So I picked my favorite subject, impoverished women that are working so hard to pull their families out of poverty. I would fly to them and tell the story of me trying to literally walk a mile in their shoes. I would film this and post it up on YouTube so that my friends and my family and my network back home, they could experience it too. They could try to empathize with this woman. They could try to understand the needs that she's feeling. But beyond that, they could also understand the solutions. The incredible nonprofits that are empowering women everywhere to have a better life. The local organizations that are educating women, giving small business loans, teaching them skills training, and giving them support when they're fighting a social stigma. If I could tell these women's stories and activate an audience to help, who knows what empathy could result in? And because I'm kind of a go big or go home type of person, I didn't want to walk just 1 mile. I wanted to walk a whole marathon. 26 miles, 26 women, 26 cultures, 26 charities. Walk a Mile is a global marathon for women's empowerment, and it looks something like this. So I'd like to walk you through my first few miles. Mile 1 was in Tanzania, where I walked with Elizabeth. Elizabeth is impoverished, but she is an entrepreneur. She's a stove mason. She makes stoves by molding them from clay. You see, traditionally in Tanzania, women cook over open flame. This is like cooking over a bonfire, and it's horrible for your health. By cooking 3 meals a day over an open flame, it's the equivalent of inhaling 2 packs of cigarettes. That not only affects her, but everyone in her household. A nonprofit called the Adventure Project empowers women to find entrepreneurial solutions to their own community problems. The Adventure Project taught Elizabeth how to make stoves that provide a safe, clean environment for women to cook. They therefore don't have to inhale all of the toxic smoke. Elizabeth molds these stoves by hand and sells them at a local market. She is not only providing an income for herself, working as an entrepreneur, but she's also helping solve a community health crisis. When I published the story of Elizabeth online, my friends and my family decided to help. They raised over $11,000 to help the Adventure Project train more women like Elizabeth to be stove masons. Mile number 2 was in my hometown of Detroit. Although I travel the entire globe, I love to give back at home. And in the US, poverty is often associated with homelessness. Yet it's shocking how little we actually understand about the homeless. I walked with a woman named Ebony. She is a single mom, and she fell into homelessness at the age of 31. I am not yet a mother, but I can only imagine the February evening when she picked up her 2.5-year-old son and she walked alone in the cold to the local homeless shelter to ask if they had an open bed. That's a walk that no mother wants to take. And the thing about homelessness is that what homeless people really need is a job. And there's a nonprofit in Detroit called the Empowerment Plan. The Empowerment Plan hires single parents out of Detroit homeless shelters and teaches them how to sew. They sew a winter coat that turns into a sleeping bag that is then given away to the homeless community. So Elizabeth was hired to sew this coat to help people in a similar position that she was in. But in the process, she's earning an income. And after 7 months of working at the Empowerment Plan, Ebony saved enough money to move her son out of the shelter and into a home of their own. The Empowerment Plan is a real solution to homelessness. Right now, they have a 100% success rate. 100% of the people they've hired out of homeless shelters are no longer homeless. When I published the story of Ebony, I asked my friends and family and network to donate. And collectively, we raised over $12,000 to help the Empowerment Plan hire more parents. The 3rd mile is in Guatemala, where I walked with a woman named Laura. Laura lives in a small community called San Marcos La Laguna. The indigenous population is very poor, and malnutrition is a real issue. The local women decided that they would band together to create a restaurant. Now, the restaurant serves food to the tourists that are visiting town. But these women decided to create a job for themselves. They would cook, they would serve customers, they would manage the books of the restaurant, and they would use the restaurant's profits to run a nonprofit feeding program that gives free meals to their local families that can't afford it. They created this restaurant feeding program symbiotic relationship, which they call Kanohel. It means all together in the local language. When I published the story of Laura and the most progressive group of indigenous women I have ever met, it raised over $29,000 to help these women continue their mission. So that's 3 miles down, and I have 23 more to go. A marathon is a really long way. But Walk a Mile has proven to be an incredible opportunity to highlight 26 different charities that are empowering women, that are doing the hard work on the ground, and that are actually helping to eliminate poverty in our world. It's also 26 opportunities for my friends and family and colleagues to give back. That same network of people that was looking for a way to make a difference in the world. But more than that, Walk a Mile proves that the whole world can be connected through empathy. You see, whether I'm walking with Elizabeth in Tanzania or Ebony in Detroit, the steps start to feel familiar. And when you spend a lot of time with people that live a life seemingly so different from your own, people that believe a different language, or believe a different religion, speak a different language, have a different income level, have a different culture, you start to realize that we are all so much more alike than we're different. We have the same basic needs: food, water, shelter, clothing. We have the same basic desires: education, economic prosperity, freedom, and fulfillment. When I'm walking with each of these women, I see myself in them, and it's almost like I'm walking in my own shoes. And when you realize that, everything changes. All of a sudden, that bridge of empathy, that bridge is built. I am now connecting with this woman and have a way to impact her. You see, empathy disseminates fear. It disseminates prejudice and persecution. And it cultivates diversity and connection and kindness. And while all of that is blossoming, what you feel inside is fulfillment. And that's what you're searching for when you say you want to make a difference. That wholeness that you feel when connecting to someone else is what you're searching for when you say you're looking for your purpose. You can find it through empathy. The opposite of empathy is distance. It's disconnection. And that's the isolation that we feel, the loneliness that we feel. So my marathon is ongoing, but it has already taught me so much about the power of empathy. The title of my talk today is How to Save the World 1 Mile at a Time, because I truly believe if we can step into the shoes of someone else, we connect with them and we can help them. And by doing this, we can actually help so many people around the world that really need it. And in the process, we'll also save ourselves. So I wish you all good luck on your journey. I hope to see you out on the road. Thanks.